Hi, this is a short video on orders and order management in Dump Truck Dispatcher. Prior to using the orders and order management functionality for it to work seamlessly, you'll want to make sure that you've already set up your trucks, your drivers, your products and services, your customers, and your suppliers. That way the dispatcher isn't having to deal with all the entry of those items as they're doing a dispatch. While they can still add those items on a dispatch and create them quickly, the dispatching office is so chaotic in a lot of cases that you want to make sure that you've set up as much of this as possible ahead of time. So we'll start out looking at a list of orders. Okay. In this case, we're looking at the orders for 7/13 to 7/14. You can see the date here, and you can change that date. Just like all these items up here, the different criteria that you can filter your orders by. So if you wanted to select a specific customer, just start typing the customer and hit search, and they'll show up down here. So this is a good way to search for and narrow down the list of items you want to display under your orders. You'll also notice, like throughout the rest of Dump Truck Dispatcher, that you can sort your items by clicking on the arrows here, and they'll sort ascending, then descending, and then back again. So if you want to change that, you can. So under the button here with the ellipsis, these three dots, that allows you to see the different options related to an order. So I could edit the order, or I could make a copy of it. If I created this order and then later realized I really wanted this to be a quote, I could turn that into a quote. And there's several different options for how you can print your order. Up at the top, we have an Add New button. So if you want to add a new order, you just click that button. So for now, let's just look at an existing order and what it looks like. So I click that option, selected Edit, and one thing to note here is while there may be a number of data elements that you can fill in, you're not required to fill them all in. So if you look at these red asterisks right here, you can see that those are what are required. So you have to have a delivery date. If you aren't set up for shifts, which most aren't, then you won't even see this. And you have to specify the customer. And once you specify the customer, if they have contacts, you can pick the contact and you can pick the quote. If you're selecting a quote because you already had a quote created in advance, then this other information will be filled in by default for that quote, so you won't have to recreate it from scratch. You'll notice down at the very bottom, this is where you have your line items. So an order can have as many line items as you want. Typically, it's one, maybe two, but you can have as many as you want. And when I want to work with a line item, I'd click on the ellipsis button, and I click on Edit. And here are the line items. Here is that first line item. Now you notice at the top we have something called designation. And that designation is telling us the type of line item that is. Is it a freight only? Is it a material only? Are we doing freight and material? Several different options that are related to, typically a freight only, but you may call them, say it's a backhaul, you price backhauls lower than you do your straight hauls, right? So we break some of these things out separately for you to be able to deal with them. Now, based on what your designation is, the columns down here may change. For example, in this case, this is a freight only. It's rental, so it's a freight only. You'll notice I only see a freight unit of measure, a freight rate, and a freight quantity, and a total freight. If I had chosen something that was freight and materials, I'd also see the material controls here as well. Something to call out, the load at and deliver to. These work very similar, but depending on your designation, they may differ. So in this case, we're going to load at this concrete plant and we're delivering it to this job site. Now, if I were bringing something if I were taking something out of the job site, say you have some dirt that you got to haul out somewhere, or some muck that you're hauling out and dumping it somewhere, then you'd load at the job site and you deliver to this other, either a supplier, or you could create a temporary location. So you could find your different load at locations by typing in here, or if they don't exist or it's a temporary location that hasn't been added yet, you could just come in here, click this, choose whether it's an existing supplier or whether this is a new temporary location. Click that button and it'll walk you through the process. It's as simple as adding a name and the address for it, so that then when we dispatch, we know where to dispatch the trucks to. And your deliver to works the same way. So now that we have this order, a couple more things on the order. Notice up here, I can make a copy of the order. I could print several different versions of the order depending on who you're going to send this order to. I can email this order to my client or customer. And I could also create a receipt. In this case, you see that a receipt has been created already for this order. Now, currently, this receipt functionality is more designed to work with the, up here you see the authorized charge. So this is tied into Heartland Connect, but we can tie it into other payment systems for a setup fee. And the difference between this and invoicing is this is happening, real time. You've got the order, you've gone ahead and authorized it, and then when it's all done, you turn around and receipt it, and you can then send them an email of that receipt. And if I wanted to look at that receipt, let's just go look at this. You'll see it shows what was on the order and then the actual amount that you have created on that order. So here, we set, I'd already gone in and typed in the quantity was 10 hours at $90 an hour. So the receipt was created for this $900. If I had created a new receipt, I would have had to fill in that actual amount, or it would have been picked up from the tickets if you had a ticket in on that. Once you have created an order, that order will show up on the schedule on the day that you have here set for the delivery date. So that way, if you have sales out making sales and they're putting in the order, it'll show up and the dispatcher will see it on his schedule. So let's look at the schedule. Now, when it's put on the schedule initially, it won't have any trucks assigned. Okay. That part is up to the dispatcher. So you see here that this is we have this order in here for Tramiel Corporation rental, and in this case I'd already set this up and scheduled it, but if it had come in brand new, that's what you would have seen. It wouldn't have had any trucks out here. Now, I'm not going to go into any detail on the schedule because there's a video on the channel that goes into great detail on the schedule if you're more interested in the schedule. But just in short, the schedule is the central focus for the dispatcher. It's where everything happens. It's where you can access your ticketing, your dispatching, you can message your drivers. Just about everything can be accessed with a click from your schedule. So if you're really interested in the power of the schedule and how it can make your life a lot easier, be sure to visit that video on the channel that covers it. The one final piece that you need to tie this together is, how do I get these dispatches to the cab? We have another video that covers the driver app. It's just a really short video, but if you want to see what the driver sees in the driver app when a dispatch is sent to him, be sure to visit the channel and see that driver app. And then the other important thing to note is there's a dispatch list, and that's where the dispatcher will be able to view the dispatches that are still in the queue, change dispatches, edit dispatches, see some various warnings related to drivers not showing up, being on time. or having acknowledged orders that they've been sent. So this truck dispatch list is what's going to key you into the fact that you have a driver that's been sitting in the pit waiting for an order and doesn't know about it yet. So in short, this video took you from creating an order to getting it on the schedule, receiving it, and then quickly talking about the other videos such as the driver app and truck dispatch list that'll give you a more complete picture. That's all for now, but if you have any questions, be sure to reach out to me.